Okay, how's it going? I'm Travis, I'm one of the technicians here at Sagiss. I'm going to explain to you guys about what the Sagiss Workstation build system is, why we do it, benefits, all that good stuff.
So how many machines are we doing right now?
So we've got 7 in this batch. We've got a couple more that are going through other things, but we've got 7 that we're running right now.
Gotcha. And this process takes us about how long?
Usually it takes anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on how many applications we're installing and how many we're doing at once. So with 7 going at once, it'll run a little bit slower, but it shouldn't be more than an hour and a half till they're all done.
So what does the process entail? How does this work?
So basically what we do is we get a machine in, we check it in through our ticketing system, and then we bring it back here, hook it up on this bench, plug it into its own network that talks to a Windows deployment server. That server, basically all it does is push Windows and then installs applications. And then from there we run that through, and then we'll go through and do work customization, so setting up Outlook for users, making sure the passwords work, copying over stuff from an old machine if we need to, making sure that it all, basically everything's set up for the client. And then we'll do a QC process at the end where someone who is not involved in the build process comes in and checks the machine against our checklist to make sure that everything's installed and configured properly so that we don't have any issues once the machine's deployed. The purpose of it, there's a few things that it does. The first thing is it allows us to install a fresh operating system image on all of our clients' computers, so that way we know that it's stable and doesn't have any defects with it. Second thing that it does is it removes all of the bloatware that comes on these machines. So the different manufacturers, they like to put applications on these computers that do stuff for them, but a lot of times we run into issues with them with antivirus or patching or other software applications that our clients use. So we remove all those and just get a clean, bare bones image. And then another thing that it does is allows us to install applications. So, for example, these 7 computers here will automatically install all of the applications for our client without any additional work on our end. So it allows them to get a consistent build with all the necessary software. And the final thing it does is allow us to just get our hands on machines before they get deployed and do a QC check, make sure the batteries are good, displays work, hard drives work, RAM is work, all the hardware physically works, so we're not just sending these things out blind. And it really helps us reduce service calls and issues with new machines going forward.
So what if we didn't do this? Is there a risk associated with not prepping a machine?
So before we had the WDS, before we had this internal build system, we would run into issues with, like I said, there's the bloatware that the manufacturers put on there. You run into issues with that. Also, just like I said, the QC stuff. So you run into problems with, you get it out there and realize that the battery doesn't work, or the USB port doesn't work, or the mouse isn't quite clicking right. So we check all that stuff beforehand so that we're not, you don't hire somebody, bring them on, get them a computer, and then 24 hours later have to send it back and they don't have a computer for the first week. This gives us a chance to just really make sure that the hardware kind of put it through the ringer and make sure that everything's good to go.
Gotcha. So this is kind of like an overall real-time smoother experience or more secure experience? Is kind of all the above? Yeah, all of the above. I mean, it also, another thing I forgot to mention earlier is we get all of our tools on it. So we make sure that it's fully patched. We get our remote management software on it. We get our antivirus software on it. Make sure that those are all working and running smoothly and don't have any issues there, and that it's a fully patched, up-to-date machine when it goes out. So by the time that our client gets this computer, it is secured, networked in, we're keeping an eye on it, we're good to go.
Yeah, they just boot it up and it says hello user, and they type their password in and they're off to the races.
Are there a lot of people doing this same thing these days, or is this?
I don't know how many MSPs are doing it. Usually this is something that happens in enterprise level, 10,000, 100,000 employee environments. So just to build and maintain this system takes some work on our end. So it's not something that you can just spin up and do typically. It does take some work to keep it running.
Gotcha. All right. Well, there you have it.